I am going to do a video on writing techniques. First of all, I always start with a blank piece of paper, and I encourage the children to write with a pencil first. It's fun to color with markers and crayons, and after you write or draw your pictures with a pencil, then we go back and use markers and crayons. But when we're actually doing a writing activity, we always encourage pencils, mainly because you have an eraser, and if you make a mistake, it's okay, but at least you can fix it. So the first thing we talk about is pencil grasp. Okay, so we encourage the children to pinch the pencil at the end. I know some have different techniques as far as how they use it at the end. As long as it's not a fist grasp or holding it way at the end, that's completely fine. So you want to pinch your pencil. So I always encourage the children, pinch your pencil, and use different strategies, just verbal cues to help them remember. Or slide your hand down to the end. One way that you can practice is if you lay your pencil down, pinch it, and then flip and turn your pencil all the way around, then you have a good pencil grasp. Okay? The other thing is when you're writing, we sit up nice and tall, and instead of writing like this with one hand and your paper goes everywhere, what we like to do is take your other hand, hold your paper, kind of like an anchor, so it keeps your paper still, and then write. Okay? When we are writing, we push down hard because some of the children just like to barely hold the pencil. That's why we pinch and push. So not too hard where you're breaking the end of the pencil, but pressure where you can see. The other thing that we talk about is writing from left to right. Just like when we read. So we start on this side of the paper and write from left to right and top to bottom. Okay? When we first start pre-writing, we use simple guidance. So we might use a yellow marker or orange marker, a light colored marker, to help the students trace. We say, okay, stay on the letter train or the number train, whatever you're writing. You can make up any kind of cute song or name for it to help them practice that. Here's an example of a highlighted name. Now there are two aspects to this. One is, yes, we use the yellow highlighter, and then you can take the pencil and encourage them to stay on the yellow color or whatever color that you're using. The other part of this is I just put the name Mary, okay? So I encourage from the very beginning for children to write their name with a capital letter first and then lowercase the rest of the way. When they get to school, they will learn this, but it's easier to not have to break a habit if they are always writing in capital letters. So I try to encourage them from the very beginning. If they learn it this way, then it's much easier than learning it the other way and then having to go back and correct it. So always start with a capital letter first and then lowercase letters in the rest of your name. Here is the next step. Okay, after they have learned how to trace and stay on the little line and hold their pencil correctly, then we move to copying. And not copying from a board or from a place that's kind of far away because we're still working on and encouraging the hand-eye coordination, but something that's really close. So basically a word or even letters, you can start with letters that are right above where you want them to copy, okay? So typically we would start this way and then move here. Just depends on what level your child is on. So if your child's name is Mary, then you would practice looking and making and copying. So now we're not tracing anymore, we are copying. M-A-R-Y. And if your child is ready, then you can just make a straight line and you don't have to break up each individual letter per line. Okay? So see if your child can practice writing their name. You can do any kind of words just to get them to practice. Then after that, you would move to a sentence. And I'll give you an example. So here is an example of a sentence. So you would draw the line. I try to make the lines the size of the word so the children can get an idea of, oh, this is a longer word or a shorter word. So then they can copy each individual word. And I also leave a space and encourage finger spacing when you are writing a sentence or something with more than one word. So you can help them practice writing, I see Mary, or my name is Mary. and also encourage period at the end of your sentence as well. Okay, so that would be the next step. After that, the next phase is to have your child practice copying. It could be something that's sitting close to the table, something that's hanging on the wall. Have them practice copying a name or a word or a short sentence, somewhere where they have to use hand-to-eye coordination to transfer it to your paper. When I first start off, I try to make the lines for the children so they can transfer. Okay, I see 3 lines, so the first word's going to go on the first line, second word on the second line, that kind of thing. And then after that, of course, the whole time you're encouraging the finger spaces, and you might do verbal cues or physical cues where you're actually pointing to the word and helping them transfer and relay that information. Okay, the next part, after they've learned how to do that, then you are going to make an illustration or a drawing about your sentence, whatever that is. Well, we've been talking about Mary, okay? So my sentence says, I see Mary. And if that's yourself or your child, that's fine. So then draw a picture of Mary. Now, every child has their own imagination. They can draw as however they would like. So I don't encourage the children to draw just like I draw, because everyone has their own opinion. But if you have a child who is frustrated and who can't draw and doesn't really know how to draw, we encourage them to use shapes. You can use shapes to draw people, animals, places. Okay, so the simplest form of drawing, just to give your child confidence that they need. So I use shapes. Of course, you can see the circle and the triangle and the squares and rectangles to make Mary. Okay, then after that, after they have learned to draw with a pencil, something legible, then we encourage them to then go back and use markers or crayons to color your picture. So for this one, I also encourage the children when they're ready to put a setting. So here is Mary in the grass and the sun. So I encourage the children to trace their picture with a crayon or marker first, then go back and color it. That way, it doesn't mess up their beautiful drawing or their beautiful writing if they just kind of color all over it and scribble all over it. If you give it some definition by tracing, then going back and coloring it in, it makes it much neater. Now again, in the early stages of writing and drawing, children are going to have their own imagination, which we definitely encourage. But I just wanted to show you the progression of pre-writing skills. Okay. Thank you.